Yo, Big D here, talking how I can improve the state of all sports. Driving Top Production, Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page, Facebook page, Dylan Schmetler, my own personal Twitch page, the Big D 3300. None, all lowercase, the Big D 3300. Talking all things, football, baseball, basketball, maybe Olympics, who knows? Knows, because I've got a lot to say and I've got ways to improve all sports. Maybe even college football. Figure out what to do about this NIL. Because NIL is running not just college football but all sports. But after what happened at the Milan Winter Olympics, I think we all realize how blessed we are, whether you're a hockey fan, a baseball fan, so many great athletes, so many great sports, whether you're Matthew Tkachuk playing for the Panthers or Team USA, or Pat Mahomes, or Shohei Ohtani, or the guys playing in the NBA, or the guys maybe playing golf or other sports. We're in a great time with so many great athletes from all over the world, and I think we should be thankful. But I think there are some ways to improve sports, and not just near and dear to my heart, but I am a baseball fan, true and true. And with spring training underway, the World Baseball Classic starting, I felt like we need to start with. I felt like this conversation needed to start with baseball, and I have a couple ways that baseball can improve. The ABS system, I think, will help. I mean, true, teams might be out of challenges in the fifth inning, but we'll see how that works. I think baseball, after what happened during the Olympics, where best on best competing against each other, I think baseball needs to have more World Baseball Classes, or maybe more so events where the best players play against each other. I don't want minor leaguers. Hello, Edgy. I think baseball needs more best on best tournaments. We need, events like the last WBC where Shohei Ohtani faced Mike Trout. That's a moment that will live in baseball for as long as we live, as national pastime is played. And with the WBC underway, it's going to be crazy what happens in Houston, Miami, Puerto Rico, Tokyo. There will be all kinds of moments. There'll be matchups we only dream of. And there's nothing better than putting on your country's national colors, whether you're Yamamoto for Japan, Edwin Diaz for Puerto Rico, Vlad Guerrero Jr. for the Dominican Republic, Aaron Judge for Team USA, the Salvador Perez for Venezuela. There'll be all kinds of great stories, and all kinds of baseball fans, not just here, but the Caribbean baseball fans, Japanese baseball fans. I imagine, excuse me, what would happen if we got a Team USA or Team Japan final in Miami, or DR or Puerto Rico. That would be crazy. And some crazy good matchups. You imagine if Paul Skeens faced Shohei Ohtani in the World Baseball Classic gold medal game. That would be all. It's not going to happen because I don't think Scooble's going to pitch more than one game for Team USA. Or Tarek Skubal against Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That would be a can't miss matchup. And also, I hated that certain players can't play in the WBC. Mike Trout with Team USA because of like insurance. And I know big league teams don't want guys getting hurt, but what happens if somebody gets hurt in spring training? What's the difference? You know, Frankie Lindor and Carlos Correa won't be able to compete for Puerto Rico, which, I mean, I'm going to see Puerto Rico, knock on wood, Tuesday night at JetBlue Park. And be honest with you, I think all baseball will want to see Frankie Lindor play for Puerto Rico. He's not just one of baseball's best players, but we see his smile. I mean, the MLB Network did a movie about Francisco Lindor's smile, and I wish baseball could see Lindor playing for Puerto Rico because that guy's got so much fun. And of course, Correa seems like that infield's played together at every well, at least the last two WBCs, but it's going to be different this year. And of course, with Puerto Rico, M. Diaz is returning after hurting his knee in 2023, so he'll have a chance to not necessarily just redeem himself, but show that he's all the way back and prove that the Dodgers made a worthwhile investment in arguably baseball's best reliever. So, and in many ways, I think what baseball also faced a problem for the WBC is the fact that there were certain pitch counts that we know of spring training, but the Olympics just took place in the middle of the hockey season. What's going to happen for the 2028 LA Olympics? Will there be an All-Star game? Will it be an All-Star game in Olympics or just the Olympics? Because baseball's a timing sport, and you imagine guys leave 3 or 4 days for the All-Star festivities, and then maybe have another week or whatever for the Olympics. Well, guess what? The timing is going to be off. Hockey players, one thing, some hockey players may want 2 weeks off for the Olympics, get healthy, you'll see family. But baseball's a timing sport, and we've seen over and over where timing matters. And baseball also faces a pretty close approaching end of the collective bargaining agreement, and from everything I'm seeing, it does not look good. It seems like more and more owners are really wanting to put in a salary cap like the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL. Major League Baseball is the only major sport in this country without a salary cap. And while the Dodgers garner much attention due to sign free agents and win a World Series, the Mets actually spend as much, if not more, money than the Dodgers, but haven't won a World Series in 40 years. The Yankees spend maybe not quite as much, but a lot of money. Haven't won a World Series since 2009. Of course, the Phillies spent a lot of money. Haven't won a World Series since 2008, or the Cubs, or the Blue Jays. But while the Dodgers garnered a lot of attention for winning and spending money, I think whatever LA's doing, I mean, if the Dodgers want to spend $400 or $500 million on payroll, so what? Dodgers make 700 or 800 million. If the Dodgers want to spend money, LA should not be punished. They want to spend 500-600 million on payroll. The problem is that certain teams, I'm not going to mention what teams they all refuse to spend the money. I mean, and we know certain teams can't really spend the money. You look at the Reds or look at the Brewers or maybe the Guardians, aren't teams that are going to spend large amounts of money because they're not in big baseball markets. But yet certain owners, for whatever reason, choose not to spend money. And it's not my team. I think if fans ran every team, we would spend $400 or $500 million. The Yankees, for whatever reason now, have decided not to spend as much money as they could. I mean, the Yankees make not quite as much, but right on par with the Dodgers. But yet the Yankees spend about half their revenue. The Dodgers spend more. And part of the problem isn't how much money the Dodgers spend or how much money the Mets or Yankees spend. Is that the Dodgers win. But how are the Dodgers winning compared to the Mets or the Yankees? Well, the Dodgers have the best front office guy in baseball, Andrew Freeman. That's no questions asked. The Dodgers figure out a way of signing guys, and LA has let key free agents go. Zach Greinke, Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Trey Turner, Manny Machado. LA has let big guys go. But yet the Dodgers have made shrewd move after shrewd move, getting Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Yamamoto. And generally, all those moves paid off. Teoscar Hernandez. And everybody's looking at the Dodgers getting Kyle Tucker. What are the Dodgers going to be paying guys in 2058? So what? I think baseball's biggest problem is not necessarily with the Dodgers that certain teams don't want to spend money. And I mean, look at the Mets. Mets spent what $300-400 million on payroll last year. It didn't make the playoffs. And that's because the Dodgers are so much more well run than the Mets. The Mets spend money, but yet you look at the Mets starting rotation come July onward, it looked like bleh. And yet in October, the Dodgers starting rotation reason why LA won the World Championship. Because Dave Roberts didn't want to use that bullpen. They're like, I'm going to use starters out of the bullpen. Use Tyler Glass now. Use Yamamoto. Use Blake Snell. Use Roiki Sasaki. Thank you. And in many ways, yes, money can help buy you, but it's player development. And I mean, every year the Dodgers have a top 2 or 3 farm system. Dodgers have this next prospect who's going to end up being really good. Or the Dodgers used him to get somebody. And to me, a salary cap would not necessarily help the sport. Yes, it means teams can't spend the money. But to me, the biggest issue is having teams spend at least this what they get back in like collective bargaining. I mean, you look at even the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. The Pirates spent money to get Brandon Love, to get Marcell Ozuna. Who knows what Paul Skeens will make an arbitration going forward. Hopefully Connor Griffin starts the year in the big club. But I think the Pirates know, hey, we better spend some money because, what if there's a salary floor just like what the NHL or like NBA put in, where teams have to spend a certain amount of money. And you know what? That means players get more money. That means more that money is spread out, everybody wins. The owners have a better product on the field. The players get more money. The fan base is excited. Hey, you know what? Maybe we end up with, a better team. We're going to come out and watch Paul Scenes pitch and watch Connor Griffin and watch Brian Reynolds. Oh, in Seattle, maybe watch Cal Raleigh hit and watch Cal Raleigh do his big dumper and hit 60 home runs. Or watch, the A's in Sacramento before they go to Vegas. Or watch, Jose Ramirez in Cleveland or the Miami Marlins or the Nationals. But, you know, I wish every team would spend a good amount of money. Doesn't have to be 300 million, but if the Guardians spent 150, I think Cleveland maybe could maybe end up going somewhere. I mean, you look at the Blue Jays. I think Toronto spent as much, if not more money than the Dodgers this offseason. But yet everybody looks at the Dodgers because they got Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. But the Blue Jays spent a lot of money. True, didn't keep Bo Bichette, but they got Dylan Cease, Oliver. I think they just got Max Scherzer back, Akamoto. Um, I think it's going to be interesting to see because I've heard from multiple people, multiple sources. There's a half decent chance the season doesn't start on time, and a good chance all or most, if not all, of the season will be chopped because of a lack of a CBA. And we saw in 22 where the lockout darn near cost games. I mean, and be honest with you, I don't think baseball can afford a lockout like what happened to hockey 2005. I don't think I don't think baseball could have a lockout just like hockey did because any momentum that baseball gets, because last year's World Series was fantastic and involved a team in Canada and a team in LA. You imagine we got a Red Sox Cub World Series. Not saying that will happen, but that would be, or that Yankee Dodger World Series from 2 years ago. That's about as well as baseball is going to do now. Frankly, I think if baseball could somehow eke into football, that will make things great. Now, baseball's not going to be what it was in the 70s, where you could all get baseball wasn't in one sport or on par with football. But hopefully, the players and owners agree to a new CBA that's beneficial to both sides and zero games are missed. Otherwise, any momentum that baseball is gaining, maybe from the WBC, maybe from another great pennant chase or or postseason, will be gone. Speaking of football, combine this week in Indianapolis, so a lot of GMs, many ages, players are there. Um, I mean, I've got to talk about Mendoza. I mean, the kid from Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, one of my favorite people, little quirky like me, but I think Mendoza reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow, maybe Matt Ryan, but I think Mendoza's got a lot of Joe Burrow in him. Really smart, really accurate, good, just enough arms, more than enough arm strength, more than enough accuracy. But I like that Mendoza has played a lot of football, not just at Indiana, but at California. So he's seen a lot of defense. Hasn't always played with the greatest wide receivers. Now, Indiana was probably the best team in the country, but, assuming Mendoza goes to the Raiders, I think it's going to be a fascinating partnership because Tom Brady there. Not a bad guy to learn from, but everybody's going to say, "What do you think about Mendoza's profile?" Now, like he's fine. Now, I'm not sure Mendoza's upside is that of Caleb Williams, Drake May, but I think Mendoza right here can be a really good pro. I mean, what if he's Matt Ryan or Jared Goff? I mean, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan won an MVP and went to a Super Bowl. If you told Raider fans Mendoza, 15-year pro, made 3 or 4 Pro Bowls and won some playoff games, I think the Raiders would take that because the Raiders have been awful for the last 25 years or so. I mean, I don't think the Raiders have won a playoff game since the 2002 AFC Championship against, I don't know if that was the Jets. It might have been the Jets. 2002 AFC. Jets or Titans. No, that's not what I want. Yeah, Titans 20. Yeah. Yes, against the Titans. And by the way, the Titans are going to be interesting this year too, with Cam Ward, with new coaching staff, with Salah, with Brian Dable, top 5 pick. Who knows? Maybe they go after Jeremiah Love. And speaking of running backs, everybody thinks you shouldn't draft a running back top 5. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey sure looked like a good pick at wherever he was. Yeah, I think Ave. Saquon Barkley sure looked like he was worth the top 30 pick in 2018. I think if you want to draft a running back in the top 5, 6, 7, 8 spots, he's got to be a can't miss and a no doubt guy who will play from day one. Hopefully Ashton Jeanty turns out to be that guy because, with Bowles, Mendoza, Jeanty will have opportunities. And, I think Clint Kubiak will be a better coach from offensive minded. We know what that zone blocking scheme, he'll figure out ways of using Jeanty some. Plus, Brock Bowles, when healthy, he and Trey McBride are 2 best tight ends in football, no argument. So, can anybody keep the Raiders healthy? Of course, Cole Miller, great left tackle. Who knows what happens with Max Crosby? But the Raiders are sure going to be interesting. What are the Steelers going to do at quarterback? Do they bring back Aaron Rodgers? Give one of these bridge quarterbacks a Malik Willis, or maybe draft Ty Simpson. We'll find out between now and the draft in Pitt, and 48 Knights are now in Pittsburgh. That's going to be interesting. What happens with Miami and Tua, Kyler in Arizona? Do the Vikings make a play for Joe Burrow, one of these quarterbacks? Do the Ravens figure out a way of keeping Lamar or maybe extending him and lowering that $70+ million cap hit? And then you look at A.J. Brown, Philadelphia. What happens there? Because, some people are going to say A.J. Brown, Philadelphia, is that a match made in heaven or a match made in you-know-what? I don't think the Eagles can get a fair package for him. And Philadelphia can't trade A.J. Brown because he'd count $40 million dead cap. So, at least until June 1st. So, everybody's thinking, what about Buffalo and New England? But the Bills, ever since Steph Diggs, have not really gone for a big-time wide receiver. Maybe the Bills go after somebody in the draft, but Buffalo's over the cap. New England, but I mean, would Mike Vrabel want A.J. Brown? We'll see. But I think the Patriots need a lineman, and they know it. But I also want to talk about one issue with the NFL. seemingly every week the NFL's got a game somewhere. I mean, there's a game in Australia, a game in Mexico, a game in Brazil, games in Germany, games in Spain, games in France, games in London. I think my Jags are going to London for 2 straight weeks this year. But I think the NFL is going too far with all these international games. I mean, the 49ers, for heaven's sake, are going to Australia and Mexico this year. Now, Mexico's not the longest trip, but after going to Australia, you'd think the 49ers wouldn't be traveling at all. Instead, this year, I think the 49ers have games against the NFC East, AFC West, thankfully, and Miami. I think Miami. Yes, Miami. But it's in the Bay Area. So it could be Wolves. Plus, I think they have games against Niners have games against Green Bay and the Falcons. Yes. I mean, schedule could be Wolves. But I think the NFL is going too far all these international games. First off, nobody wants to be in an airplane for 20 hours. And B, these guys are out of rhythm playing another country, and the fields aren't necessarily suited for NFL stadiums. We saw the Packer Eagle game a couple years ago when the pitch in Sao Paulo wasn't really great. There's a reason why NFL teams like to play on grass, because the pitches that these teams use are different than an NFL field. Difference between the grass that'll be used maybe at the World Cup or Super Bowl. And also, not just travel or jet lag, but these guys are out of rhythm playing in whatever. A lot more miles, a lot less rest. And I think the NFL is going way too aggressive with having games all over the world. Now, Roger Goodell's not going to give a darn. I'm surprised there's not a game in South Africa for all we know. If they're going to put games in Australia, why not put games in South Africa? Instead, I think what could be done and what should be done, maybe the NFL, if the NFL wants to have 17 games, maybe have certain games be played in college football stadiums. I don't know how, because a lot of them be used. But why can't, the Rams or the Chargers play at the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum? Why can't the Jacksonville Jaguars, for all we know, play at the Swamp? I mean, heck, the Jags won't even be able to play in Jacksonville before long because of the renovations being done there. Why can't, the Carolina Panthers play at Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina, or the Saints at the at Tiger Stadium, the other Death Valley, not after Hurricane Katrina, of course, but Detroit at the Big House, the Browns or Cincinnati at the Shoe. I think that would be heck. Why can't the Steelers or Eagles play in Happy Valley? I think that would be fun. Now, a lot of these college teams maybe lack the modern amenities of NFL stadiums, but I think that would be fun to have Pat Mahomes play in Lincoln. I think that would be fun having games and the Seahawks play at Husky Stadium. I think that would be fun. And also show, we see NFL college games at NFL stadiums. Why not reverse even a preseason game? They would be a lot of fun. fun. Now, I don't know how the Bills, maybe the Bills end up with the carrier dome, but that would be weird. And also, a lot of the, well, not all, but, the Eagles and Temple play at the Lane. I have heard something, the Steelers and Pitt play in Pittsburgh. Of course, Miami and the Canes play just down the road from me. Um, I think that would be unique having NFL games in College Station. I mean, instead of games in Melbourne, Australia, why not have games in Melbourne, Florida, for all we know? No, just make things quick. All right, NBA. Forever and ever, the NBA used to be made on dynasties. The Celtics dynasty of the 50s and 60s. The Laker teams. The teams with Magic, Kareem, and Worthy. Showtime Lakers. Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale Celtics of the 80s. The Bad Boy Pistons. Both bowl dynasties. Tim Duncan and the Spurs, the Heatles, the Dubs. But since 2019, the NBA has gone anti-dynasty. And this new CBA is going to make it near impossible to have dynasties. Because the cap annual luxury tax will make it darn near impossible to keep a championship roster together. We saw the Celtics trade, Drew Holiday or Porzingis, because Boston didn't want to have a $300 or $400 million payroll. It will be very difficult for teams to maintain a championship roster without going bananas. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder won the title last year and may win it again if they don't face the Spurs, but we'll see. But I think the NBA has made it very difficult to make trades, because guess what? It's got to be dollar in, dollar out. And also, Adam Silver does not want to have dynasties. The NBA forever and ever loved dynasties. Adam Silver wants to give everyone a chance. There have been 7 straight years with a different NBA Finals champ. And if the Thunder don't win it this year, it might be 8. Because the San Antonio Spurs look like they can win a title. And from what I'm reading, it looks like the NBA is going to outlaw tanking. Now, I understand why the NBA is doing it, because the NBA wants teams to play hard. There's so much money on the line, so much money being bet every single night. But the NBA also is playing a dangerous game. Because take the Utah Jazz, for instance. The Utah Jazz are never going to get a top free agent. They're never going to get a Kevin Durant, LeBron James, a Luka Doncic, a Joker. If those guys reach free agency, 0% chance. The only way for the Jazz to be competitive are, 1, get lucky in the NBA draft lottery, find a Karl Malone, a John Stockton, or 2, make a trade. And the Jazz made a trade before the deadline getting Jaren Jackson. But Utah might need the tank. I'm not saying the Jazz want a tank, but the Jazz may need the tank in keeping draft picks. I mean, the Spurs tank to get Victor Wembanyama and all those guys, and who's the young rookie guard? Dylan Harper. And now the Spurs have a chance to win the whole thing because they tanked for a couple years. Remember the Rockets tanking to get Akeem in 1984, or the Spurs taking for Tim Duncan in 1997. And I don't think teams want to tank. But some teams may have to because the worst place teams want to be probably probably in the middle. Take the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or maybe lately the Miami Heat. The Heat. Because the Heat are good enough to make the playoffs, maybe win a round. But the Heat don't win in the title. So and the Heat can't get a good draft pick. So we'll see. And now about the NHL, the Olympics. I think the Olympics turned into an unbelievable story in Milan, not just with Jack Hughes and Team USA winning, but the incredible celebrations we've seen. Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Sunrise, the New York Rangers welcome back, Jack Hughes welcome back. By the way, I don't think Jack Hughes will ever have to buy another drink in the good old USA. Maybe in Canada. You might have to buy a drink in Montreal or Edmonton. But everybody's. I've heard people complain about how Team USA's when the U.S. 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team won gold, I didn't hear any complaints that they were hanging out with Jimmy Cole. I didn't hear it. I don't remember. I wasn't alive, but I don't remember him. So. And in many ways, I think um what Team USA did at the Olympics is show that a team can win, and whether it be Hughes scoring a win against Sweden or Jack Hughes scoring a win in the ratings, it showed what patriotism is. The fact that I'm going to go out there, put on the Team USA sweater. If that meant I'll play 8 minutes tonight, I'll play 8 minutes. That meant I'll play 28 minutes. I'll play 28 minutes. Guys became unselfish. And you know what? That's how great teams are formed. That's how the Miracle on Ice won. That's how Team USA won in Milan. Team Canada, particularly that top line, was better than Team USA. But it seemed like Team Canada's player top line was Team Canada's team. When Team USA's squad consisted of guys with roles to play, whether it be Eichel, the Kachucks, Hughes playing the wing instead of his traditional center position, Quinn Hughes, McAvoy, Faber, and Connor Hellebuyck playing amazing goal. I heard guys say after the gold medal game that we outshot him. I'm like, well, the goalie's part of the team too, just like a field goal kicker. There were games where maybe when maybe a team was better than another, but yet the kicker won. You look at 2006 division round. Adam Vinatieri kicked 5 field goals. Or this year's Super Bowl, Jason Myers kicked 5 field goals. They're part of the team. Might not be quite as famous as Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Drew Brees, but you know what? How many games did Harrison Butker win for the Chiefs? I'm just saying. Remember the Chiefs-Bills game where Buffalo's kicker missed a chance to tie a playoff game in Buffalo. You know what? It matters. And maybe, I don't know what it is, but Connor McDavid's only crown that he won was the Four Nation, where he scored the golden goal. He didn't win I don't think McDavid won a junior title. He hasn't won a Stanley Cup and didn't win the Olympics. Falcons was on the eyes for both goals Team USA score in the final. And he's like, and people on the left complaining, why is Team USA hanging out with the president or hanging out with all these celebrities? I'm like, you know, Jack Hughes' goal is going to be remembered forever, just like Mike Ruzioni, all those guys from 1980. And I would be hanging out with the president too, no matter what side I'm on. One of the great things about being a champ, doesn't matter what sport, is that you get to shake hands with the president or important dignitaries. And I think even President Trump's going to have meetings to hopefully corral with Nick Saban and other sports dignitaries, figuring out how to control college football, NIL. I think that's important. And Macon Keller is going to be remembered forever for scoring the golden goal against Team Canada. It's not just scoring the golden goal, but that it came against Canada. That's what made the moment important. And trust me, I think no matter if you're Macon Keller, you're Hillary Knight, in fact, go meet the president, see the White House, I think that would be incredible. That would be a moment that these athletes will cherish because, we all love Alyssa Liu winning the gold medal in figure skating. Or the men, all the hockey teams winning gold. Or, everything that makes team that shows what America can do. Or the 4x100 meter squad the year Phelps won 8 gold medals. I think those moments are incredible. And, Jack Hughes might not win a Stanley Cup from the New Jersey Devils. His year was made with what happened in Milan. So, as the calendar turns to March, springtime's coming, everything's blooming, sun's shining, weather's warming. You know what? March Madness is coming. The World Baseball Classic is coming. Eventually there'll be Masters. So get the azaleas blooming. Hopefully open day's not that far around the corner. Oof. It's going to be a busy time after the World Cup in the U.S. Ready for a home World Cup in North America. Get your popcorn. And, you imagine Team US, if the UN's men's national team made the final MetLife, what kind of ratings will that get if we end up playing France or Germany or Holland or England? That would be something, right? So, thanks for tuning into the stream as I discuss all things state of sports. This is the Big D himself signing off.